Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? And we are actually getting back to our previous series that is building apps with FastAPI. So, if you have been following along, you recall that last time we were moving towards the WhatsApp integration thing. Um, we looked up the WhatsApp Cloud API documentation, and very quickly from there, I jumped into the Meta Graph API documentation and checked out their overview. In that overview, I'm just going to move this in the middle. In that overview, we're essentially seeing the API, Graph API, is essentially a REST API that helps outside users like me interact with Meta's graph databases because they model everything as a graph database. Wherein instead of a traditional relational model, every entity is a node and it has edges that connected with other things. So, a person or a customer could be a node, right? They could be also that customer purchased something. So the purchase would be the edge, and what they purchased is the other node, and therefore everything is connected like this, right? Um, I was initially thinking like, hey, let me dive deeper into just the Graph API docs and read that. And I was like, okay, let me take a step back and focus in on WhatsApp. So what I did was I actually went through, we're going to get to PyWA in a moment. Um, I'm, because where is this? Graph API, WhatsApp, Cloud API. Yeah, so just going straight from the top, I'm just gonna go with the overview for this instead of the get started, just to familiarize ourselves with this idea. HTTP protocol, so that's simple. It's just a basic REST API call, right? That you can make. This is a simple curl, right? And the major resources you're dealing with is a business portfolio, a business account, a business phone number, and message templates, webhooks, and test resources, right? So these are the major resources you are dealing with. And what are each of these? So a business portfolio is essentially, let's just open this up and read it. I actually am not 100% sure. And obviously nothing is being said here, but my presumption is that within if you don't have, you'll be prompt creative serve as a container for WhatsApp business account and business phone numbers. So essentially, a portfolio is like a higher level thing within which multiple businesses can come in and multiple business phone numbers. So the hierarchy is portfolio, account, phone numbers, right? With each portfolio containing multiple accounts and each account containing multiple phone numbers. You can have these accounts separated out for multiple different reasons, but the hierarchy is there, right? Um, Message templates are essentially like if you are ever messaging with any customer service group on WhatsApp or whatever, you'll see like they'll have a template and then they'll send it to you, and then there'll be a message with some buttons and things like that. So that's essentially a message template. Webhooks are pretty simple. So everything that you receive on a WhatsApp business phone number will be sent as a webhook to your endpoint, right? And this is like kind of the key of Cloud API and how WhatsApp business integration works, is that the anything you receive on a phone number, right, is hooks in and sends a API call essentially, and then you do whatever you want. You can respond. You can do whatever you want from there, right? Test resources. So this is essentially stuff that is automatically created for you once you set up your portfolio and profile and things like that. I'm not doing that. I just wanted to go over this because I was just like getting way too much in my head. So I wanted to like externalize all of this. And so there's just test accounts and stuff and test phone numbers. And most of these will bypass messaging limits and don't require a payment method on file in order to send template messages. So this is literally for testing. That's all test resources are, right? And I'm assuming there's some limitation if you try to use these free test sources on a production level. There would be some sort of limitation that would stop you. What that would be, I don't know, but something. Authentication and authorization. So simple. We have access tokens. Everyone is aware. It's essentially a random string, and that string will be associated with your granular level permissions, right? Giving you access to do all kinds of other things. With the permissions being business management, if you're interacting with the business portfolio, WhatsApp business management, which is interacting with the WhatsApp business account and its analytics or any of its templates and phone numbers, and WhatsApp business messaging, which is needed for sending and receiving messages, right? So you can have fine-grained control over these permissions to do whatever you need to do. Versioning, this is similar from the Graph API protocol, when there's multiple versions, and anytime a new version is released, it's going to be available for 2 years before it is retired. I assume that within a year it's deprecated or something like that. Before the 2 years is up, there's at a certain point it'll start giving you deprecation warnings. So yeah, that's also something to keep in mind. Throughput. You can shoot out basically 80 messages per second and up to 1,000 messages per second by automatic upgrade. So they're going to get into that automatic upgrade in a moment. Basically, there are certain eligibility requirements that will lead to an automatic upgrade of your throughput capacity, and that will be based on multiple things, like, if people are blocking your numbers too much, or multiple other things which can reduce your quality rating. You know what? Let me just get into that. So, the business number must be able to initiate an unlimited number of messages in a rolling 24-hour period. So I think the number itself needs. Oh boy, I did not mean to do that. The business phone number must be registered with the cloud API. And if it is not, if it's using an on-premise API, it needs to be migrated to the cloud API first. And you must have a medium quality rating or higher, which I think is the real limiting factor, right? And the quality rating is affected by loads of things like people blocking you or reporting you or whatever, right? With green being high, medium being with green being high, yellow being medium, and red being low, I believe, if I looked up the quality rating documentation, right? So this section is all about describing that. So with the webhooks, it's delivered concurrently, so you're gonna want your application to also be able to receive concurrently, and basically speaking, median latency should not exceed 250 ms, and you need less than 1% of your requests need to have a latency that exceeds 1 second. And failed webhooks will be attempted to be redelivered for up to 7 days with exponential backoff. So, yeah, you get lucky that way, for up to a week. After that, it just gets lost. Media messages. So to up your throughput level, you can, if you're sending messages with media assets, pictures, videos, whatever, you essentially want to either upload it to Meta servers, instead of using your own media URLs, and or you should use something known as media caching, which I'm not exactly sure what that is. Let's just take a little quick see look. Media, okay, Jesus Christ. Media caching. If you are using a link to a media asset on your server as opposed to an ID and asset you have uploaded to our servers, WhatsApp Cloud API internally caches the asset for a static time period of 10 minutes. We will use the cached asset in subsequent send message request. If the link in subsequent message send payloads is the same as the link in the initial message sent payload. If you don't want us to reuse the cached asset in a subsequent message within the 10-minute time period, append a random query string to the asset link in the new send message request. So essentially, it just automatically does it for you when you're sending a media asset. So if you send the same URL again without like adding some random bullshit query parameter, it will just automatically cache it for you. Going back here, getting throughput level, you can fetch the throughput level for your particular phone number ID, migration, rate limits. I feel like this is stuff that is more related to things when you actually get to it. But essentially, there's different types of rate limits. So there's a rate limit, like we discussed earlier, about the number of messages you can overall send just from the physical limit. There's the number of messages you can send overall, the number of messages you can send to a singular person. So that's called the pair rate limit. Um, the quality rating and messaging limits, which essentially uh, is essentially an amendment to the messaging limits based on your quality rating, et cetera, et cetera. Available metric, so you can get access to your metrics for your accounts. Scaling with the cloud API automatically scales. So yeah, the WhatsApp can throw out pretty much whatever you can send at it, right? Because it's auto scaling, it's meta, so they have their shit unlocked. So if you suddenly jump in throughput out of nowhere, it will scale with you and it won't be a problem. Data privacy and security, I'm not getting into that, but basically encryption, it's all end-to-end encrypted, so you don't have to worry too much on that side. Pair rate limits, this is what I was talking about, wherein essentially messaging the same phone number again and again, there's a limit on that, right? Within a short period of time, I mean. Which you can, so it's kind of interesting if you do need to send a lot of messages really quickly. Um, you can do that, but then you're kind of borrowing against your rate limit from the future. So if you send 45 messages within a second, right? And actually, the rate limit is one message every 6 seconds to the same number, right? So 45 messages it already goes past that within 6 seconds, right? Because one message every 6 seconds means 10 messages every minute, right? So if you send 45 messages, you can do that, but if uh, eventually you're gonna hit a point where you will be limited in sending messages to the same number again and again, and you will have to wait with essentially this is the algorithm: 4 raised to the power of x seconds later, or x equals 0 and increases by 1 after each failed attempt until the request succeeds, right? So that's your exponential back off system right there, in terms of getting a message out once you exceed the pair rate limit. So tools, WhatsApp Manager, there's like a web account. I haven't set up my things. So third-party SDKs. The following third-party SDKs are not affiliated with nor maintained by Meta. And for Postman, they have a cloud API Postman collection containing common queries in our WhatsApp business platform workspace. I'm going to see if I can import this into... actually, let's see. Import Postman collection into Yak. Let's see if we can do that. To import a Postman, export the Postman collection, import into Yak. Locate the import open Postman, navigate the collection you wish to export. Locate the soft and found, select the export Postman collection JSON file from your local system, confirm the import process with Yak. Okay, so you can totally use it in Yak, because I fucking hate Postman. As we have already discussed, Yak is awesome. And frankly speaking, everyone should abandon both Postman and Insomnia and switch to Yak and give that developer like ass tons of money because he's a cool guy. Anyways, so then that led me into looking up Paiwa, which honestly, unlike when I was looking for myself, this is incredible. It's really mature, really well done repo for sending WhatsApp messages and integrating with WhatsApp. So I think it's and they have very specific integrations for FastAPI and Flask. I'm surprised. This thing is super well done, and on top of being well done, it's also actively being developed right now. Like if you go to the commit history, the most latest commit was literally yesterday. So this is going to be probably what I'm going to end up using to actually code up this stuff. Though I think initially I'm just going to do the basics of setting up my WhatsApp account, Actually, to do that, I have to create a Meta, like a Facebook account, and it's a whole thing. I hate Facebook. I'm gonna try and reclaim my old Facebook account and see if I can recycle that. If not, I just need to create a new one. I don't know how I'm gonna make that work, but I'll figure it out somehow, and then we'll go from there. We'll figure it out from there. Actually, I think I have an Instagram account that I made for my wife, so maybe I can use that. I don't know. Let me see. Let me see how this works. Um, I'll do that. We're gonna play around with the API a little bit, like set up the testing resources and stuff. I believe there's a test webhook server that you can set up, right? Yeah, using a test webhook app, wherein essentially everything that you send to that account just automatically dumps to a log, so you can just see the structure of things like that, right? That will help a lot in terms of creating of setting this kind of stuff up. Create a GitHub repository app on render. Follow renders instructions for deploying Node Express app with these differences. Step 3, add your test webhook app URL to your Meta app. If verification is successful, the Meta app dashboard should refresh and you should see a list of webhook fields you can subscribe to. Sooner renders app log. If you see webhook verified, you test webhook app URL, send a test message. Okay. What is this? What is render? I don't even know what render is. So we're gonna do a little bit of Googling before I'm just gonna click this. Your fastest path to production. Build, deploy, and scale your apps with unparalleled ease from your first user to your billionth. Debug your render services in Cloud Code and Cursor try render MCP. Okay, so this is essentially like a Vercel offshoot type thing. By the looks of it, I don't understand why. If you aren't ready to build your production webhook app yet, you can deploy a test webhook app on Remmer.com that dumps webhook contents to the app console, which you can view in Render's app dashboard. Only use this app for testing purposes. I don't understand. Create a new repo, public or private, with the name of your choice. Within the repo, create an app.js file and paste this code into it. Hub mode, hub challenge, hub verify token, rec query, if mode equals subscribe, webhook verified. 200 send challenge, else res status 403 end. Const timestamp. Webhook received. So this is the only one that matters. This is where the webhook is received. I'm trying to understand what this is. Hub mode, hub challenge, hub verify token. It says hub dot mode equals mode. What is mode? Const. Const is a variable. Hub dot mode equals mode. Hub dot challenge equals challenge. I'm not understanding this GET request. Okay. Let's see if ChatGPT can make some sense of this. But actually, I mean, it makes sense. They are sending, they've defined a poster. Basically, what I'm trying to do is if I can set this up without using JS, because I'd rather just not have JS in my organizational repo. And yes, I do have a separate organization set up, and all my repos that I create for all of this stuff is going underneath there. I'd really rather not have something that's JavaScript, because if anybody else in the future starts looking at things and it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense to them. I just don't want that. I feel like Python is for my purposes. I think it's just a better tool. I think because there's more developers. It's easier to pick up. Yeah. Yeah, but maybe I'll just copy paste this and follow these back to back just so that I can start getting some logs. And maybe, you know what, like, you know what I could do? I could also just do this and just deploy on render, whatever, because I'd rather not even deploy on render because these things are terrible. I would rather deploy on something like I would rather deploy directly to AWS or GCP and use one of their Docker thingies, right? Um, Only thing is that the logs over there may not necessarily always it's like you'd have to set up loggings. It's a bit more complicated to do that. So I might skip it, might just do this, and then later on we'll rewrite the test app and maybe build it up for something that's more valuable to us as a team. Uh, yeah, so something like that. Yeah, and this will just help us get our head around like how everything is working and stuff. Yeah, I think honestly I don't want to use render just because it's just going to be more money for no reason. But I could as well. I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm just going back and forth on this. I'm going to close this video. Thank you so much for coming in, and we are back, baby. That is definitely the name of this episode. Have a great one, everyone. Bye bye.